Hibbert to jump it up for Georgetown against Lovedale. And a second tap, it comes back to Richards of the Wildcats. They've stormed back from 11 down in the second half Friday to knock out Gonzaga. Lovedale takes the open jumper.
Right where he started against Gonzaga, Jim, winning that tap, and then turned running around, burying the jumper. And how about these assignments? It's Sander down there on Hibbert, giving up about 5 or 6 inches.
That means Lovedale is down here on Summers. Summers takes the shot in the lane, and he knocks it down 2-2.
And watch the matchup. Who is going to be? It's going to be Wallace starting off on Curry. Curry moves so well without the ball, loves to come off the screens.
Sure, we'll see a lot of Jeremiah Rivers coming in also for reinforcement on Curry, who has the ball right now.
I'd say we'll see 4 or 5 different players matched up on Curry before this day's over.
Lovedale giving up size to Hibbert, takes another jumper, and that's the first on Hibbert. Chance for the three-point play.
Got hit on the elbow and still made the shot, which is very, very difficult to do.
Just outstanding on Friday, Andrew Lovedale, and he's hit the first 4 here for Davidson, has a chance for one more.
Did you see that little snap on the elbow, Jim? The ball was released. Otherwise, it probably would have been an air ball, but good job by the official to catch it early.
Lovedale has only been playing basketball since 2001. Getting better by the game. The Davidson program not afraid to take on impressive non-conference opponents. They certainly got a taste of NCAA tournament-like competition early in the year.
Without question, played North Carolina, Duke, UCLA, played on this floor against NC State. All losing causes, Jim, but in every game they had a shot to win.
In fact, their last loss was on this floor in December against NC State, lost by only 1. 23 wins later, here they are trying to get to the Sweet 16.
Change of assignment already. It might be a switch, but we see Hibbert no longer on Lovedale.
Lovedale, not this time, and tapped out by Georgetown. Paulus Gosselin came in and helped create a little havoc, and it's off the Hoyas. John Thompson III picked up his 100th win on that Georgetown bench on Friday over the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UNBC. His first ever road win was down at Davidson in December of 2004. His 3rd overall game, and they won it by 25.
Georgetown zoning out of bounds and staying in it.
Curry almost launching his first shot. Now he will, gets control of it, and it rattles out.
Maybe a little bit too quick on that because he had Hibbert in that zone area. Probably could have got off a better one.
Beautiful drive for the basket, Jesse Sack. Now it's Richards penetrating quickly down the other way. Lovedale unable to grab it, now gets it.
Among 4 people.
And that's last touch by Hibbert. They thought here in the crowd that maybe they got the second call against Hibbert, but no.
Jim, he's got 4 people on him. What he should have done is fired that ball right back out because he had Curry wide open at the top. He would have had that jumper. Here's that zone, the out-of-bounds situation.
Lovedale threw it too steep for Paulus Gosselin and a turnover.
Georgetown, the kind of team throughout their history with John Thompson and his dad, always doing a terrific job against individual scorers. And so Curry is, we'll see how long it takes him to get off.
Saw Bob McKillop in his 19th year down at Davidson, and the win Friday against Gonzaga was the first in his program as the coach over a ranked team. And that's going to be a call against Lovedale.
You don't want Lovedale picking up a foul 30 feet from the basket with a reach-in. He's too valuable for this team to have to sit down with any kind of foul trouble. He's had 92 fouls called him on the year and has fouled out twice. Boy, Bob McKillop wanting his team out there to really put more pressure on the ball.
Jeremiah Rivers in, number 5. Curry on him. Wallace comes off the screen, lost the handle. Now they say it was last touch by Richards.
Good overplay by Richards. Now the way Georgetown has this ball, Jim, pulled so far out away from the basket. Sander is down on Hibbert. They ought to be able to get Hibbert the ball down and low with no opportunity to double down on him.
Curry almost making the steal on Rivers. 2 Two young men tutored by their fathers, exceptional players. Doc Rivers and Del Curry, and that's going to be a foul against Lovedale, his second.
And that's why that reach-in foul. Now Lovedale's going to have to come out of the ball game. That reach-in, Jim, how often do we see it? Particularly in the NCAA tournament where you make that unnecessary foul, really hurts your ball club early.
Boris Minnow must come in now, number 5.
Now we have the man that was the real catalyst to that victory over Gonzaga with his first half play, sitting on a bench with 16:57 to go in the first half.
Wow, may not see him the rest of the half.
That's huge.
Minnow must step up. 6'18" from Paris, France.
Did not have a particularly good game against Gonzaga.
Wallace off the glass. 6'4" Hoyas.
Now Wallace and Sapp now both been able to penetrate right down inside and get off their layup.
Sander playing with a heavily bandaged right hand. He jammed the thumb in the game against Gonzaga on Friday.
You notice that Rivers is coming to ball game. He's all over Curry. Curry trying to be patient, setting screens of his own.
Wallace Gosselin gets the feet planted, misfires on the 3. And that's last touch by Minnow. It's 23 consecutive wins for Davidson. Going back to December, longest streak in the country with Carolina on this floor later today. UCLA extending theirs to 12 last night on a hard-fought comeback win over Texas A&M and Wisconsin yesterday, making it 12 straight.
Will Archambault into the ball game now, maybe get a little bit of outside shooting on this floor.
Archambault, number 22 for Davidson. And this foul is on Richards, who was manning up on Wallace.
Pretty tightly called out on the perimeter. You know, it's kind of funny when you see a John Thompson coach, very much like his dad did, with the fact that a lot of times early in a tournament, they sometimes don't look good. Their games are not pretty to watch, and yet the object is to survive and advance, and they have that down to a science.
Really weren't all that pressed on Friday.
No, but they don't look like, you know, they never look pretty blowing somebody out. They just, you know, win the game by 8 or 10.
And Sander stuck, able to get it out high to Richards. Archambault snaps it back over. Richards with 10 on the shot clock, looking for the screen.
Curry was open that time. He didn't come out for it.
Ackland's going to be whistled for this one, just in for the Georgetown Hoyas. So we reach our first break. Curry, one shot, a misfire. Georgetown's up 6-4.
You know, Jim, it's kind of interesting. Patrick Ewing was picked as the Big East's first 6th man ever. He is the 4th substitute to get in today. Normally you'd think, you know, the 6th man of the year in the Big East, but he comes right off that bench, you know, early in a ball game. Instead, John Thompson, in his way of coaching, spreads out that playing time and doesn't seem to have a specific pattern.
Here's a sub in for Davidson, young man who stepped up big on Friday in that comeback. Stephen Rossiter, 6'7" sophomore from Staten Island, New York, whose brother has already played today and been eliminated. His brother Ryan on that Siena team that made it to the second round before falling to Villanova.
And we'll have another brother combination on this court this afternoon. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Tyler Hansbrough and his brother will be playing at the same time for Mississippi State. And that is a big 3 by Wallace.
Wallace, the career leader at Georgetown in three-point shooting. Just a solid player. Starts there as a walk-on and now is one of their really great players. Beautiful pass.
Curry gives it up, but that is swatted away. Big time block by Patrick Ewing.
Came from the weak side and did come quickly. And a pass like that Curry has, you would assume that's going to be an easy layup. Terrific reaction by Ewing. His dad never was that quick. He just was about 4 inches taller.
Or more.
And had pretty good anticipation, too. One of the great players in the history of the game.
He won his national championship in 1984. Here's Richards with the 3, matching the Wallace at the other end. And there's Patrick, the dad watching the son, who is a senior and trying to extend that career at Georgetown today.
You don't realize how big his shoulders were till you see him on the sidelines.
That
nice
was
rebound.
Rivers missing, a Wallace missing. Up ahead, Richards pull up, and Davidson's in front.
Boy, Just a great move. You start talking about a guard that knows how to play. Instead of taking that ball further, pulls up at the foul line for the short jumper and gets a nice charge. Wow.
No, it's going against Davidson.
Wow, that was some call.
That call is against Richards. That's his second. So the big story here early is that Davidson already has to put its starting center, Andrew Lovedale, on the bench with 2 fouls. There he is.
But Jim, Richards plays 35 minutes a game. I think he'll stay on the floor. That was some call there. Nice steal.
Rossiter whips it over to Minnow.
Minnow didn't realize Curry was open down the floor.
Archambault, all air.
A little bit of a quick shot there. They need to get Curry touching the ball a little bit more here in this first half, getting started.
This right in for Georgetown, number 4.
And Minnow and Hibbert really going after each other down low.
Here you go, Hibbert with the hook, with ease.
The size of the Davidson big men are going to require a double down against Hibbert every time he touches the ball. He can shoot right over them.
Rossiter back out high, Richards. He's already hit 1. Not this time.
Smallest man on the floor grabs the rebound.
That's right, the freshman. Oh, and he traveled.
He did travel and got away with it.
Rebound Davidson, Minnow.
Davidson wanted to push this ball and turn this into a little faster game than Georgetown likes to play.
And that's a foul against Rivers. Bryant Barr will be checking in for the Wildcats. Lovedale only got about 3 minutes of action. Did a couple of quick jumpers.
Got caught with that push, but that wasn't the foul that hurt him. The foul that hurt him was the little reach out and a poor hedge move about 30 feet from the basket, about 1 possession before that. Sattler and Richards, nice matchup right here. And Wright has got Curry. Curry trying to bury himself down on the baseline for a double screen. Here he comes.
This is Barr, who can hit the 3. Was quiet on Friday. Now gets his chance to launch.
Jim Curry spending most of his time here in the half setting screens as opposed to coming off screens. Many times as the screener, you're the guy then that can pop out after the screen, but so far Georgetown really has it well defensed.
Only 1 shot so far for Curry, missing on a 3. And that's going the other way. By the way, that foul we thought was on Richards is in fact was called on Archambault earlier, so only 1 on Richards.
So he got the cheap one on the charge block call, but not the other.
But that's 2 now on Roy Hibbert.
And he's coming out. Georgetown, it's kind of interesting in this pattern. When Hibbert goes out, John Thompson comes right back with a guard for a center.
The winner here to take on Wisconsin Friday in Detroit. Big Ten regular season and Big Ten tournament champs. Now here's Curry. That was halfway down.
That's a beautiful screen and step out by Curry to get open, but it had to put it up quickly.
Sapp at the other end, all net.
It's 2 for 2 for Sapp. Boy, Wright is getting right out on Curry. He's got quick feet. The guards from Georgetown are really strong.
Minnow, big step to the basket. Sander on the foul.
Well, Georgetown's got a small team on the floor right now, and therefore some offensive rebounding is in order.
But things leveling out now with Lovedale first to the bench on the Davidson side with the 2 fouls, and then Hibbert with his 2.
And now Sanders, you know, even in size with Ewing. Bad shot.
And back of the rim, in fact, for Summers. Put back, no. Ewing saves it.
Actually, right now, Davidson's got a little bigger squad on the floor.
And there's a foul call. It's a charge. They call it on Summers. His second. That's 2 on him now. We're back here in Raleigh, and 2 Hoyas now in early foul trouble. DeJuan Summers has 2. Roy Hibbert has 2. Hibbert's on the bench. Summers stays on the floor. Lovedale on the Davidson side, still sitting with 2. And Curry has not scored, Billy, to this point.
Well, Jim, one of the things that Curry has done, however, Georgetown in a little foul trouble would normally be playing some zone. They don't want to go zone because they don't want Curry to have any openings against that zone and get off his jump shot. So he has taken away one of the real good defensive weapons that Georgetown has, and that is their zone defense. Right now you got Wallace back on Curry. It's the fourth guy that's guarded him so far in this ballgame.
Those two shots both looked like they were going down, and they rattled out. Inside Sander, tough bounce pass. Freeman there to step in and steal it.
That really wasn't Sanders' fault. Minnow should have been charging into the basket. He hit the basket.
Oh, Ewing drives for the dunk and one.
I tell you, he really looks fresh, doesn't he? I mean, he just exploded to that basket.
Just had the first foul in this game called on Steph Curry, who has not scored. Some of you just joining us. Georgetown leading at 16-13. Macklin coming in for Georgetown as they continue to sit Roy Hibbert with 2 fouls. And Ewing, who had a big performance here Friday, is off to a good start again. Chance for a 3-point play as he drove to the basket and dunked it and was fouled.
And I think you'll see Coach Thompson keep Hibbert over there as long as his team can stay with a little lead. Richards got some good dribble penetration to the basket earlier. He needs to maybe look to go back to it. Curry on a switch.
Got Macklin on him right now. He takes the long and that's blocked.
Yep, good job. Curry didn't realize the length of Macklin.
Inside feed, underneath, and heading to the line. That's going to be on Sander. Macklin will shoot 2. First on Sander.
Nice touch passing there. And Jim, what Curry probably is going to have to do in this ball game, because Georgetown's playing him to come out and in effect step out for the jump shots. He may have to start curling and look to go inside as opposed to stepping out for the outside shot.
After all, it is a Georgetown team that's #1 in the country field goal percentage defense. They shut you down better than anybody in the country.
They have a chance to beat their all-time record of field goal percentage defense. When you start holding people under 40%, particularly in a league like the Big East, that's really outstanding.
They've actually, the last 54 opponents have been held under 50% from the field. It dates back to January 2007 in the conference game against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're at 36-6 right now, which is just sensational considering the competition they play.
Davidson hit its first 2 shots of this game, but struggled ever since. Curry got everyone to commit. Now driving in underneath. Sander trying to save it. No, going to Georgetown.
And Macklin goes ahead and does a really good job with those long arms. Took away that jump shot for Curry. Curry did the wise thing, penetrated, but it really took away the jumper. Second time in the last 2 possessions the jump shot has been taken away.
Curry's first attempt from 2. He still failed to hit in this game, 0 for 4, coming off the 40-point magical performance on Friday. It included 30 in the second half.
So hold on Sander.
That's going to be 2 on Sander. And it's a 1-and-1 coming up for Georgetown.
Sander, Jim, with that taped up thumb. We saw that in the play the other day where he just jammed it. And Lovedale coming back in. And you can see what Bob McKillop's thinking is right here. He does not want this lead to get extended, knowing that Georgetown's a club that likes to hold teams down, keep the game in the 50s.
Lovedale, who had 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes, now returns after sitting down for 7 minutes. And that was Macklin over the back, no call. And that's going to Davidson.
Hey, Jim, you know, it's kind of interesting. We think about the blowout situations. The biggest blowout in St. John's history, they got beat this year by Georgetown 74-42. So, you know, when you normally think of a blowout, you think somebody beating somebody like you saw in North Carolina the other day with like the 100-point game. When you hold somebody to 42 and get 74 yourself, that is some shutdown on defense.
Been doing it. Always with the Thompsons. And that's a foul outside on Ewing. Mentioning St. John's, the last time Davidson had won an NCAA tournament game before Friday was when they beat St. John's back in 1969. advancing them to the East Regional Final against North Carolina. That was 2 straight years that North Carolina took away their Final Four prospects at the last stop at the regional final at the Elite Eight.
They went 16 years of a drought in the NCAA from that point until they finally got back in under Bob McKillop.
Now it's Sapp on Curry.
And you see that Rivers didn't leave him, so no matter where he goes, he's got somebody in his face. He actually beat 3 players to get that shot off.
Boy, did he work hard. His first basket of the game, a high floater from the baseline. Not until 9:31 to go in the half does Curry get on the board. But that can change so fast as we saw the explosion, the 30-point output in the second half alone Friday. Ewing, he'll launch a 3.
I like to give him that shot, though, compared to letting him get on the inside.
Wallace, gonna be a charge. Rossiter drew it.
1 dribble too many for Wallace. You know what? He got in traffic and he couldn't get rid of the ball.
That's his first.
Another way for Davidson maybe to get the ball to Curry is for Richards to drive, create a double team on the inside, and then kick out.
Richards with the ball, the leading assist man in college basketball this year. Here's Curry. Good look this time. 3, front of the net. And it's going to the Hoyas.
Curry smacks his hands there, getting a little bit upset the fact that things aren't dropping for him, but he's got to be patient because his Georgetown defense are really concentrating. He's 1 for 6 now.
Minnow back in, and Lovedale gave him a couple of minutes and sits down. No damage done. Did not pick up the third. Meanwhile, the Hoyas return Summers to the floor. And Sapp. And Freeman.
Wow. Action down there with Rossiter.
And for Rossiter, that's going to be his first. Well, Davidson in that game on Friday. Gonzaga led a good part of the way, but Curry in that second half, well, he had 8 of 10 from 3-point range for the game. 8 of 10. Their first tournament win since 1969. 82-76 against a really an impressive Gonzaga team that Billy figures to be another good one next year for Coach Mark Few.
You know, Jim, when you think about that Davidson drought of 16 years, how about the Georgetown drought in the NCAA tournament? They get to the Final Four, lose to Wyoming in the championship game in 1943, and don't get back until 1975 with John Thompson 32 years later. A great semifinal win where they beat DePaul and George Mikan. Henry Hyde, the great senator from Illinois, was supposedly the defensive stopper on George Mikan. I'm sure that's something that he took with him for many, many years.
Well, they got knocked out that year by Wyoming, a Wyoming team that had been to the Final Four 2 years earlier with the Cowboy Kurt Gowdy, but Gowdy was 1 year departed when Georgetown met him in '43, and it's going against Davidson at this end. This is against Minnow. Your old broadcast partner at the Final Four, huh?
Yeah, he talked about those days, how he even got started in broadcasting. That had a lot to do with it.
He's a giant. We're missing 8 minutes to go in the half here. Wright giving it back to Mack.
Pick and roll.
All the way over to Freeman. Hits a 3. Freshman delivering the basket for a 7-point lead. Biggest of the game.
That was great recognition by Mack.
And Richard says, wait a minute, I'm going to start taking this right to the hole.
And that's what he needs to do, Jim. Penetrate off that dribble.
Well, Davidson's shooting only 30%. Georgetown better thanks to shots like this by Patrick Ewing. Georgetown has its largest lead and a good part of the way without Roy Hibbert, out with 2 fouls. Meanwhile, what about Curry, Billy? What are you seeing?
Well, what I see is the Georgetown doing a terrific job in regard to their scouting. First of all, they have the kind of players that are quick enough and strong enough to keep Curry in front of them. But what they're also doing is that when he starts to make a move with or without the ball, the other guard, usually the other guard, and sometimes it's been a big man like Macklin, they also are in his way. So he has to not only beat the one man that's playing in this man-to-man defense, he has to be prepared. There's going to be a second man coming, kind of like a double down on a big man inside. Georgetown has a double up on a small man outside. Good defensive strategy.
Richards hits the front end of a 1-on-1. He had 15 points, 9 assists against Gonzaga.
All Southern Conference tournament performer. And Jim, as you said, leading the nation in assists. What he's got to do, I think, more is to keep that ball in his hands, dribble, drive, and then kick out. See if they can get Curry just in a one-on-one situation.
Will Archambault from Quebec has come in. As Hibbert continues to ride this one out with the 2 fouls.
But they've got the lead, so I think that Coach Thompson is figuring as long as I have the lead, I'm keeping the big guy on the bench, playing with a smaller team. Taking a lot of time off the clock here.
Yep, under 10. Freeman trying to get it to Macklin, who recovers. Second effort, spins off the rim, but free throws on the way. Macklin had the short one. NCAA March Madness on demand, streaming every game from the NCAA Championship online for free, and you can watch any game anytime at the new NCAA.com. That foul was on Curry, Billy, and that's 2 now for Stephen Curry.
You know, he got caught down inside. Here we have Macklin, outstanding high school player from Portsmouth, Virginia, was a McDonald's All-American. A lot expected of him. And he really, Jim, to be quite honest, has been no factor in the postseason for Georgetown. Both in the Big East tournament and then the other day against UMBC, only 2 points, 2 rebounds. Capable of much bigger basketball than that.
Just a sophomore, and it's 1 of 2. They'll go without Curry to the bench with his second foul. Georgetown's picked up a 6-point margin on the scoreboard without Hibbert. That's Archambault. Gunning back to the rim.
Great rebound by Rossiter in traffic.
Archambault says, I'll take it again. Again, it's long.
We're not going to get many wide open looks like that against the Georgetown team. Got to make them.
Lob, Macklin, and no foul. Minnow unable to defend.
I tell you, Macklin having a really important first half here with Hibbert on the bench. It's been a real factor.
Davidson only 1 of 11 from 3. That one was hit by Richards.
And look at how Macklin is moving defensively. He's getting time, feeling good about himself. Really active inside. Soft pass.
Barr back out to Richards with 10 on the shot clock.
Richards got lucky on that one. That could have been picked off. And
Richards launches.
Tried to pick up 3. Wallace is on the run.
Up ahead. That's thrown away. Sanders coming back in for Davidson.
And there's Macklin running hard, moving his feet. Those are easy baskets for Georgetown. You got to make them work harder than that.
They're taking Minnow out and Rossiter out on the Davidson side. And they bring back Lovedale and Sander. So 2 starters back on the floor, but Curry still on the bench.
And here you have a lineup that John Thompson's going to see. You got a lineup, Jim, with 4 guards on the floor right now for Georgetown. 4 guards and Ewing.
Including Tyler Crawford, the senior from Stewart Draft, Virginia.
And the reason they feel they can do that is that Davidson really doesn't have a threat to score inside. So they're using quickness and strength on the perimeter. Davidson, maybe Lovedale can get something going. There's Sanders.
Inside at 1, Sack with the reach in.
And Sander is actually the big man on the floor right now for both of these teams. So that backfired a little bit for John Thompson because Sander posted up down low with no size on the floor. Macklin and Hibbert out. Allowed Davidson to get an easy basket.
Sander, a senior from Cincinnati, and along with Jason Richards, Boris Minnow. It's the winningest 4-year class in school history. 99 wins. And boy, would 100. They got it today. Be a huge one to get to the Sweet 16.
Well, Jim, that was a huge point situation right there for Davidson.
Yep, with Curry out to get a 3-point play.
Yep. From somebody who hasn't been a factor scoring in the last 4 games.
Wright getting past Wallace Gosselin and laying it in. Wright was going to play his college ball here at NC State. Had committed to hurt Sindak, but when Sindak left the Wolfpack, it's a foul outside. He struggled with that decision, that young man right there, Chris Wright from Washington, and he said, well, you know, he said, I love, you know, Coach Sidney Lowe here, and I love John Thompson, and ultimately he decided to stay close to home. Picks up his first. Jim,
not to say he didn't make a good decision going to Georgetown because it is a great program, but, you know, NC State struggled this year. You know, the one thing they didn't have, a point guard.
He would have been the one.
Oh, man, he could have taken that team, to be quite honest with you, that was so low in regard to that one position and turned that team around without question in my mind. Had he been on it, they would have been an NCAA tournament team and a real factor.
Of course, who knows what would have happened, but injury-wise, it was a really tough season for Chris Wright. He missed 18 games. First, he had pins inserted into a foot. Then he had an ankle sprain, missed all of the regular season conference play. Back for the postseason. 5-point lead here, Hoyas. Georgetown shooting 59% in this game, with Hibbert down for most of it with 2 fouls. Curry on the bench for Davidson, sitting with 2 fouls and only 2 points. Coming off the highest scoring performance by an individual in the NCAA tournament since 2004, his 40 points on Friday. And Sapp all the way.
On target today. No doubt in his mind, that one was buried just like the other 2. Barr hadn't been able to get open at all. Tell you, Georgetown's had some scouting report on this Davidson team because they are very aware of who the scorers are.
And that's a call against Macklin, and that's his first. Georgetown's hit 4 out of 6 from 3. For Davidson, 1 of 12. So that summarizes it right there. Minnow at the line.
Georgetown this year shooting 37, almost 38% from 3, which puts them in 2nd spot in the Big East. So we think about them all the time as a tough inside team with a guy like Hibbert, but that's a pretty good percentage from the outside.
Minnow played his high school ball in Massachusetts.
And Davidson shooting under 30%, so that combination of solid outside shooting for Georgetown, which they've shown all year, and that terrific defense they have is what's got them in this position.
You think we've seen the last of Curry in this half? Got the 2 fouls, under 5 to play.
7 points. I say if they score again or get the double figures, we're going to see him back in here.
Oh, a little backdoor cut to right. And the lead is 9.
I think Bob McKillop has to bring him back in here. And for 2 reasons, Jim. One, this differential is building up. And number 2, you'd like to see him hit a jump shot or 2 if you're Davidson before they go in at halftime.
Archibald. That's off Ewing.
Davidson having all kinds of problems scoring now.
He's going to bring it back right now along with Lovedale and Sander.
Yeah, I think it's a good move.
Rossiter and Barr head to the bench.
You just can't allow this spread to get any further.
Archibald coming out also. Tyler Crawford, who just a short while ago became the 10th Hoya to see action today, steps back onto the floor.
Ewing sits down. Another outstanding job off the bench. Brings a lot of energy, both ends of the floor.
Lovedale from the free throw line. All Georgetown underneath.
And doing it with a small lineup. Still 4 guards on the floor.
All perimeter right now.
Good skip pass.
Now they go inside Macklin. Lovedale with the 2 fouls, trying to defend, and nice move. You're so right, Billy. Macklin gaining confidence by the minute.
It is amazing how a guy gets a little spurt, puts energy into his game. Hibbert loves him. The senior puts the hug on that sophomore.
65% from the field. Double-digit lead for the first time for the Hoyas.
They're at 36-6 right now. You know, I love to watch a coach like Coach Thompson. You know, when you take a look at their stats, Hibbert is their leading scorer. He was the 17th leading scorer in the Big East. But he is one of those coaches that has great feel for the game. His substitution pattern is by feel, not necessarily by the normal way that somebody might do it. So here he has 4 guards on the floor right now. Macklin giving him playing time based on the way he's been playing.
Curry took the jumper, 2-point shot, front of the rim.
I think that's the shot he can get off more often rather than fading out onto the perimeter.
He's 1 of 7 from the field.
Get tighter curls and shoot around the foul line. He actually has better size than the guys guarding him.
And Freeman has already hit one. Hits another.
Freeman and Sapp have been outstanding. This small lineup causing Davidson all kinds of problems.
Look at Rivers.
And now it's Rivers, but see, he's got help with Macklin no matter which way he goes. Boy, this is textbook man-to-man, hard-nosed defense.
And Richards dives in, hits the deck, and will head to the line for 2. That's on Macklin. 8 different Hoyas have scored in this one. It was wild in Anaheim last night. UCLA coming back from 10 down to A&M, advancing Stanford in overtime to the Sweet 16. Duke, the only Sweet 16 seed to be eliminated. Hibbert's been down, Billy, for over 10 minutes. When he sat with the 2 fouls, the game was tied at 11. Georgetown 26-12 run without him.
Well, some outstanding coaching by John Thompson. Lovedale, and Jim, I go back to that first foul he got was the cheap one. The second one put him on the bench. That enabled, without any inside presence, that enabled Coach Thompson to put Hibbert on the bench all this time and go out there with this very small lineup, 4 guards and Macklin, and they have been able to go ahead and put all kinds of pressure, particularly on Curry, who is now going to sit down as well for the rest of this half. He's got 2 fouls on him. Just a nice piece of coaching, using your entire lineup and using it very effectively to put a defense on Davidson that they haven't been able to handle. And I'll tell you another thing, getting Macklin really involved in this game spells well for Georgetown in future games if they are to win this one.
Big bonus today by Macklin, his performance.
Sapp really not that fast to explode after he had his way to the basket. There's the crossover dribble, but see, he just doesn't explode to the basket. So you ought to play him to take away his jumper.
Got called for the travel. They're going to bring in Curry here on the possession change. In for Archambault.
Oh, you see what they're doing then, a little offense to defense substitution here. And Wallace goes down there, takes a look at Curry, and Curry says, can I finally find one guy to be on me?
Actually, it's Paulus Gosselin to the bench instead. Davidson without a basket in the last 4 minutes. Richards has more than half the point total, 13.
And Jim, I think Richards ought to keep the ball in his hands and penetrate. He needs to come back out and want that ball more often. Just penetrate off the dribble.
Six on the shot clock. Has to force it.
That was Macklin that came out there and helped out again. He's having some half. Is he enjoying himself? First time I've seen a smile on his face in a long time. Young man with tremendous promise, having quite a first half.
The winner of this one to take on Wisconsin Friday in the regional semifinals in Detroit. Ford Field. It'll be quite a sight, both Detroit and Houston. Those football stadiums going to be configured for the first time in the NCAA tournament. Differently than we've ever seen in the past in the NCAAs. It's unfortunately right in the middle of the football stadium. The crowds are going to be enormous. Both sides. They're away from the ball. Call against Archambault of the Wildcats. His second. His Georgetown backcourt producing. Inside and out. That's Sapp. And this is Wallace. All-time 3-man in Georgetown history. Freeman, the freshman. He's hit his shots from out there, too.
This has been a tough matchup for Davidson. This 4-guard lineup. Here, you're going to see Rivers coming in, but he'll come in and he'll still stay as a 4-guard lineup. Comes Curry in to be on the offensive end of the floor. 1:11 to go, and he's still room to get a shot off.
You wonder if he could hit one jumper anyway before the intermission. It wouldn't, at least for his psyche, set up perhaps big things in the second half.
He breaks down the floor. Freeman picks him up.
His Davidson team was down 11 a number of times against Gonzaga on Friday. Down 14 right now to the Hoyas, the 2 seed in the Midwest. Curry puts it up, and he has his first 3 of the game.
And Jim, he got a solid screen that time, and Freeman just couldn't get out there in quick enough time. But Georgetown really was going to almost triple team him on that jump shot. He gets it off quick, and he gets off with a high arc.
And this is a call against the Hoyas. Called on Freeman.
Opportunity to get it down under 10.
That's his second. I said maybe Curry could get 1 outside shot before that. Maybe he'll get 2.
Well, give Bob McKillop some credit in regard to how he's used Curry. Kept him off the defensive end of the floor not to pick up that 3rd foul, but he wants him there on the offensive end. Now Rivers is on Curry. I'd say he's faced about 4 or 5 different players so far in this first half.
Standing near midcourt, Richards, who's been the bulk of the offense for Davidson in this half, is going to run it down.
And Wallace, the best defender against dribble penetration of the Georgetown guards.
6 seconds. Richards pitching it outside. Archambault, flat shot. Lovedale chases it out. Puts it on. No. Hoyas by 11 at the intermission. As they held, talking about the Hoyas, they held Davidson to 27% shooting.
And 2 for 14 from 3. Now, if you're Davidson and you look at that, Richards is the one guy that created offense with dribble penetration. He's got to do a lot more of that in the second half.
All 5 starters back on the floor on each side, including Hibbert and Lovedale with 2 fouls each, and Curry, who has 2.
Boy, Hibbert had a nice pick and roll that time. They didn't get him the ball.
Didn't find the handle. And eventually a foul called on Max Paulus-Gosselin, junior from Quebec. It's going to be his first.
Now, if you're a guard on Georgetown's team, the big fella only got to play 5 minutes, and he has been able to carry you on so many games throughout his career, you got to let him have some touches.
Same guy we saw last year, Billy, at the Final Four, take on Ohio State in the national semifinals against Greg Oden.
We wanted to see him take him on, but the officials had both of them in foul trouble, so we never got a chance to see the big guys go after each other.
Well, he played 24 minutes in the game, and he played well. But Ohio State going on to that championship game before they were knocked out by Florida. That's a beautiful shot by Wallace, who today is playing in his 136th consecutive game for the Hoyas.
A walk-on that has become one of their stellar performers.
Yeah, absolutely. 136 straight starts. And Curry to the half, no.
Step out, he had to shoot it from long, long range, which he has.
Again, Wallace. What a start to the half. Jonathan Wallace, senior from Harvest, Alabama, who is going to Princeton for Coach John Thompson III.
There's the offense for Davidson.
That's Richards.
And the reason that's effective, Jim, he beats his man and nobody is going to help out because the other guards got their eyes on Curry, so he can get a drive to the basket. He needs to keep that ball in his hands.
Hibbert on the drive, and Lovedale rejects. And it's going to be a charge on Hibbert, number 3. So we got one place still open for Detroit. Will it be Georgetown or Davidson's? Kansas, Villanova, and Wisconsin already into the Sweet 16.
Jim, in this interesting, Coach Thompson, I talked about, there it goes Richards again.
Not this time.
There was a push that time by Summers, got by with it. But how about Coach Thompson leaving Hibbert on the floor, even with 3? He wants to see the big guy get an opportunity to get something going.
Wallace, I was talking about, was going to go to Princeton to play for John Thompson. And of course, Thompson then came over to Georgetown, and Wallace followed him.
There's the pick and roll. They don't get the ball to Hibbert often.
And Summers. Lovedale let him take it. It's a 3. And this lead now is ballooned to 17.
I think I may be wrong. I think that's now 8 for 10 from 3 for Georgetown. They are having some game.
They've made now their last 9 shots as a team. That's short for Richards. Sander on the, no, it's Paulus-Gosselin. Here's Sander. Richards wants it one more time. For the first time long with this one.
Well, you've got to make the open threes when you get them.
And that'll send Sander to the line. Foul on Freeman, his third. The best place to get college sports today is College Sports Tonight. Get inside the latest news, scores, and highlights, and more only on the CBS College Sports Network. The new pulse of college sports, CBS College Sports Network.
Jim, as kudos to the NCAA Tournament Committee a number of years ago when they talked about the power teams, in effect spreading their schedule out to give some of these so-called mid-major teams an opportunity to play. I really feel that it has helped a club like Davidson. It's been able to play, you know, the likes of a Duke, a Carolina, a UCLA, and NC State to get ready for games like this, so it wasn't like a shock and awe the minute that they faced a club. But right now you can see why Georgetown worked their way to a regular season #1 in the Big East and got into that final game, that brutal game to the pit. They just play such tough defense.
That's Curry leading the break, and now the lob and the lay-in by Hoyas Gosselin.
Well, I thought with the margin that was a dangerous pass to make. Had to be perfect and was.
That last foul, by the way, on Georgetown was on Sapp, his second, not on Freeman. They did put Hibbert down with the 3 fouls.
Well, you see who's on the floor, Macklin, so I don't think John Thompson's worried about foul trouble on his club.
Well, given the way Macklin played in that first half, and Hoyas Gosselin reaching in his second. And here's the lob by Curry.
Boy, just had to be perfect and was. I didn't think a good decision to throw it. When you're down by double digits, you don't want to have to make the perfect pass. Hoyas Gosselin, maybe a little bit of a cheap shot on Wallace. Wallace didn't particularly appreciate it.
Still 14 in front, Georgetown. Comfortable lead most of the way.
That's a push off.
That's against Freeman. This time that is his third.
Tell you, the bodies on the Georgetown guards, they're all like little fire plugs. You know, Jim, only when I say little, they're all 6'1", 6'2", but they are really powerfully built. When they come off screens or when the screen's set on them, they can hurt you.
Still waiting for a Davidson run. They haven't had one in this game.
Macklin running.
On the hip, made travel call against Summers. Back comes Ewing.
In fairness to Summers, that was a tough ball to handle in that kind of traffic. He didn't really come very wide on that 3-on-1 break.
And Lovedale has been neutralized since the 2 early fouls. 2 early baskets he made, too.
Now, you notice when Richards drives, Wallace is on Curry. He doesn't even care. He stays right with Curry. Never goes to help out inside.
4 on the shot clock. Curry points to the clock to his teammate Richards.
No call?
No call. They say it was last touch by Georgetown, but now a shot clock violation will overrule everything. So coming out of the break, it'll belong to the Hoyas. We're just out of the break here. Hoyas have turned it over their last 3 trips, but leading by 14, shooting over 70%, and they hit again. That's Chris Wright on the inside. They've made their last 10 shots.
Jim Wright more explosive than Sapp now that those legs of his are healed.
Curry open, as good a look as he's had.
Yeah, terrific look. He wanted to follow that one through. Richards keeps the ball alive on a dribble.
Lovedale going to line. And that's on Macklin.
How about that? Richards hits the floor and had the presence of mind to keep the dribble alive rather than just catching the ball. Almost came up with another assist where he leads the nation.
2 shots for Lovedale. I mentioned earlier, started playing basketball in 2001, home in Nigeria. Before basketball, he was a soccer and table tennis star in his youth. And he's gone back home the last couple of summers. Teammates have loaded him up with some of their gear. He's talking about how he took 5 suitcases full of Davidson Wildcat gear back home to his friends. Last year made a lot of fans of Davidson. Lovedale gets 1 of 2 at the line, 48-33.
Well, we talked about yesterday the 6 foreign players that Davidson has on their in their lineup ties with the most in Division I basketball this year.
And Wallace, high-arcing shot this time, long board out to Rivers. That's their first missed field goal attempt since 7.5 minutes remained in the first half. Macklin tipped out to Richards. Hoyas, though, got 3 men back.
Look for Curry on the jump shot.
Here he is. Can he hit this one? And one! It could be the 4-point play.
That was brilliant recognition by Richards. Curry was trapped down underneath the basket on that last drive by Macklin, but Richards had the presence of mind to realize that the great shooter was coming behind him. That was really smart.
Second on Rivers. And Curry, who made more threes than any player in the nation this year, can make it a rare 4-point play.
Second team All-American this year, Jim. A lot of those All-Americans, Eric Gordon we saw out. DJ White out yesterday. Luke Harangati, he's also out. Jared Bayless out. Those were the guys on the second team. So some of these All-Americans getting knocked out in this tournament.
Curry's big play brings it down to 11. They were 17 down a moment ago. An 8-2 run.
Brings this crowd into it. And I'm kind of surprised the North Carolina fans aren't joining the Davidson fans rooting for a team in their state. That's a carry.
And the North Carolina's showing a little spirit, but maybe it's hard for them to root for anybody in red on this floor here. The home NC State.
That's a great point. Maybe just psychological.
They just can't do it. It's too many years of pin-up rivalry there.
Well, they are sitting with their hands on their lap. They are really not joining this Davidson crowd.
A couple more hits from the outside. I think they may join in. Georgetown, of course, the team that eliminated their Tar Heels in last year's tournament in overtime in the East Final.
Well, all the more reason.
Absolutely. Oh, a steal. They try to get it to Curry. Macklin read it. Back to Macklin. And Richards on the reach-in.
Pretty good foul there.
His second.
He was going for all ball, so not intentionally. A good steal, good kickback. That just hard, aggressive play by Richards. Too small to really make the block, but he showed a lot of guts going in that traffic.
You know, for all the size you have with Hibbert, Macklin coming off the bench, Georgetown in its last 5 games had attempted only 48 free throws, Billy. Not something you'd expect. Their opponents more than double that as they make 3 subs. We've got a quick update. Let's get to New York. Greg Gumbel. Second one for Macklin.
That's why it was a good foul.
Absolutely.
Yep. Macklin has an easy dunk otherwise. Richardson gave up his body. Richards gave up his body.
Gonna get it down to single digits.
It's Summers now on Curry. Curry doesn't need much room.
Now he's got Macklin on. Weaving and then pitching outside. Richards. Sander trying to save it.
I don't know why. Don't you think that ball would have been out on Georgetown?
Yeah, it was close. Hoya ball now. Hibbert returns for Macklin.
That was interesting. Curry felt 2 big men on him, Summers, and then tried to use his driving motion. Because Summers, remember in the first half, blocked. He and Macklin blocked the shot of Curry from the outside.
This pressing from the outside by Davidson is a turnover again for Georgetown. Something the folks around these parts saw yesterday with Duke just struggling mightily.
Well, that was freshman to freshman, the backcourt of the future for Georgetown, throwing that one away.
Davidson's had some good looks from three. But this is way outside. Curry, no. The nice board. Paulus Gosselin. Back to Sander. How high? Will be Curry.
Probably should have put that ball up, don't you think, Jim?
Well, he hesitated too long.
I think he was kind of surprised that ball came cross court. It looks like Davidson is now starting to get a little bit used to that four-guard defensive lineup. Starting to get some better looks.
But still not hitting from the outside. 3 of 21 from three. Abbreviated shot clock, the same possession here at 15.
Down to 8 seconds.
Richards coming to Curry's side. Very tough shot this one. Ball on the floor and into the arms of Sander for the layup. And it's down to 9.
That's one of the few times I've seen Curry not shoot his normal shot.
Well, he had to beat the shot clock, but it was a tough one. And players draped all over him. And now a 17-point lead down to 9 and right back to 11 with Hibbert.
And you do see the North Carolina fans now getting into the action.
Lovedale, he'll take the trigger. Tough shot. Out with it comes Sapp.
Looking to go inside to the big guy.
Oh, this is going to be the 4th foul call on Hibbert.
That was exactly the play that Coach Thompson wanted, but Hibbert got his elbows up in the eyes of Sander.
A little rally here by the Wildcats. 10-4 stretch as the 17-point Georgetown lead is down to 11. And Coach Thompson is way out on the floor to argue that last call.
He better get back. We saw a coach go to the, not only to the bench, but to the locker room yesterday.
Trent Johnson of Stanford.
Yes, sir.
So 4 fouls now on Hibbert. So Davidson now. They trimmed it to 9 before Hibbert upped it back to double digits. Georgetown got a bench warning before that timeout. Richards easily getting baseline.
Here we see Ewing back in the ball game. See what his presence means right here. Davidson's been doing a good job on the press, but I think that Georgetown can throw over that press to Summers and Ewing.
Ewing, 3-pointer, and Curry has it.
And they better stop him when he's got his dribble because he'll put that jump shot up right away. There it is.
And 3, no. Would have been huge.
Pretty good job that time by Summers.
Would have cut it to 6. Oh, reach in and stolen. They've got big numbers here, 4 on 2. Curry whips it inside, Lovedale easily again, but it's a 7-point game.
And Jim, what happened that time? Ewing normally would have run back down court to be under the basket, but he saw Curry filling the lane out to the left, so he went to Curry, leaving the basket wide open, unattended defensively.
The foul call on Paulus Gosselin. We've come out of the break here in Raleigh with back-to-back baskets. Easy ones at that for Davidson. First Lovedale, actually Richards, then Lovedale. And it's a 7-point game, down from 17. A 14-4 run, and Rossiter almost has the steal. It's going to be a call against Ewing.
Pretty good hustle by Rossiter.
3rd on Ewing.
A lot of time out here in this ball game, Jim. Davidson, again, let's go back to that schedule they played. Used to playing against tough teams in tough situations. In addition to the game schedule, we mentioned this at their ball game the other day, they scrimmaged against Texas, another one of the top teams in the country. So they are used to playing against good people. And they're now getting more used to playing against this 4-guard defensive lineup that Georgetown is installed against them.
Davidson was about to inbound near midcourt. Then they realized, the officials, that that's 7 team fouls against the Hoyas. It'll be a 1-and-1 for Stephen Rossiter. Well, now they've come back and they've changed that decision again. So will be Davidson inbound.
Well, Rossiter just a 67% free throw shooter. This may be a good break for Davidson. And again, if you're Richards, keep the ball in your hand. Keep some dribble penetration alive.
Not shooting, offensive foul on Ewing. And Curry, tough shot this time. And Freeman on a long rebound.
A turnaround jumper from 25 feet.
He's 3 out of 16.
He's not going to stop shooting, I can assure you that, Jim.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, he's not hanging his head. Doesn't look like he's lost his confidence. Shots definitely not anything close to dropping like they were on Friday. But he can still line it up with half to go. On the floor, he makes the steal. And this crowd has come to life.
That was against Wallace. Now Wallace is down. Curry was without a man for a second. Richards and Curry used to playing right at 34 minutes a game. He'll make that one.
Best look of the day.
He will make that one.
That's the best look he's had all afternoon.
You give him that shot, Jim, and it won't even touch the rim.
Timeout, Georgetown.
Look at he and Richards hugging each other.
Davidson back from the dead. 17 down in this half. And a 17-4 run. Let's get an update again back to Greg in New York. Once Roy Hibbert picked up his 4th foul at the 11:37 mark, Davidson's gone on a 7-0 run, so Hibbert's back on the floor with the 4.
Jimmy is back on the floor. Let's see if they go to him. Now, what Hibbert has to understand, he's being guarded by smaller people all day today. He's got to keep those elbows out of the defender's face. There he is. He's got good position on Rossiter. They don't get him the ball.
Three-point shot, no. Hibbert was over the back and got away with it.
Almost his 5th.
That was Summers on the shot. That was awfully close.
Jim, I think that Georgetown ought to just camp him down inside. Beautiful pass.
Lovedale makes it a 2-point game.
Curry can do more than shoot. He had eyes in the back of his head on that one. Rolled to the ball and realized that he had a teammate breaking from behind.
A 9-0 run by Davidson. And now Wright, freshman, very coolly answers back in the paint.
Size differential here. Wallace on Rossiter. Georgetown switches.
Curry, Lovedale. They'd like to feed Lovedale down low and get Hibbert to pick up his 5th. Richards now, that's a bump foul on Summers. And for Summers, he has 3.
Georgetown big man having a hard time with Davidson's guards on those switches.
Return to action out of the timeout with a 1-1. Jason Richards.
Jim, what's really interesting about this Davidson team, 20-0 in their conference. As we know, 23 straight wins, 25, they're 25th in the country in rank. They have shot 126 less free throws than their opponents. That seems almost impossible, doesn't it, for this club?
Yeah, usually when you start putting up the numbers that they've compiled, they've got the decisive edge.
Yeah.
But all that perimeter play they get out of Curry and Richards, who just knocks down 2 free throws to bring it back to a 2-point game.
And how about this? They're pressing a team that had 3 guards on the floor, and it's sometimes 4, and it's been effective in this comeback.
This was a lead of 46-29 with 18 minutes remaining. Down to a bucket, 2-point bucket.
Hibbert again not getting low post position. Look at where he is, 25 feet away from the basket.
Right back to Hibbert.
Goes.
Hey, the freshman Chris Wright's coming up big here. A shot on the lane and a beautiful assist.
Why was Hibbert not blocked out? He came all the way from the top of the key down inside to go ahead, and there's a foul.
That's all right.
That ball almost went in.
That's unbelievable.
From his knees.
And they're going to say that he was fouled before the shot, so it'll be 1-1. That's 9 team fouls on Georgetown. One away from the bonus for the Davidson Wildcats.
Bob McKillop said of all the guys that guarded Curry this year, Russell Westbrook, and we've seen him, what the great defender he is from UCLA. He said he was the toughest defender Curry faced all year. Of course, I guess in that same sense, you'd have to say Georgetown's 4 defensive guards have been pretty tough on him too. Kid shows a lot of stamina for the body he's got.
Played 39 minutes on Friday. But of course, against UCLA, Billy was not 100% either. But Curry will earn one more at the line.
Always seems to be nice and cool, doesn't he?
Oh, never rattled. Even when the shots aren't dropping. He's played confidently all day.
And look at this press. And Davidson not backing down at all. And if you're Georgetown, get that ball in Wallace's hand. The senior that's played more games from a starting position than any Georgetown player. He's the kind of guy who can settle him down here. There he is.
That's past Richards. Tough shot. Tip Hibbert. And that's going to be reaching on Sander.
Pretty good job by both Hibbert and Summers going for that offensive rebound. Macklin going to come back in now.
That's the 4th foul on Sander and the 5th team foul on Davidson, so it's not a 1-on-1.
But you see what was happening there. Coach Thompson was going to get Macklin in, get Hibbert out for defensive purposes, but since they still have the ball, he wants Hibbert to stay on the floor.
Shot Goody. That's Sapp. Jesse Sapp.
Well, he's been online all day, Jim, right from the first shot of the game on his part.
Been a good March for Jesse. Had his career high in the Big East tournament against Villanova. 22. Marcus Curry with a 3.
He's now starting to go under that solid screen as he's rubbing him off. His teammate Jason Richards just smiles and, you know, just in amazement of what he can do with that jump shot.
The timeout called by Davidson with 6:22 remaining.
And Jim, you know, I got to point out here, we know what the Big East has done in terms of the NCAA tournament. Think of this, Georgetown beat Villanova 82-63 in the Big East tournament. They go and beat West Virginia 72-55. We know how great Bobby Huggins' club is playing.
Both of those teams now in the Sweet 16.
Absolutely. And then they lose to Pitt in a war in the final. Another team that's played great in the NCAA tournament. So this is an outstanding team that Davidson's got just by 2 points down at this point in the game.
Bit of disappointment though last night. Michigan State.
Yep. So you've got 2 teams in the Sweet 16 that they beat, and Pitt, the team that beat them, took Michigan State right to the wire.
Of course, Villanova is already in the Midwest Regional in Detroit. The Georgetown and Davidson both hope to be next Friday, Sunday. The winner to go there to face Wisconsin.
And West Virginia be lined up against Xavier, a club that is really playing well. Atlantic 10 representative.
Villanova, meanwhile, will have Kansas in the regional semifinals. Georgetown spreads it out a little bit. Oh, a reach in on Lovedale, and that's his 3rd. He had those 2 quick ones.
I really think that the complexion of this game changed when Lovedale picked up that 2nd quick one in the first half. Took away the inside presence that Davidson would have had.
Feed the post. They go back. Summers rattles out, tipped out by Hibbert. Huge height advantage inside.
Well, he wants the ball. They're just not getting it to him.
Going to set a screen now for Wallace.
He likes this screen and roll to the basket immediately. There he goes, and they don't get it to him quick enough. His hands look like they're about 3 feet above the defender.
That last tap out by Hibbert, Billy, goes in the books as his 1st rebound of the game.
There he is, wide open. Wallace doesn't get him the ball.
Better look up. There's only 4 on the shot clock. Summers doubled up. Shot clock violation. Oh, they're going to call a jump ball first. The arrow goes to Davidson, but they'll lose the arrow. So they'll call it a jump back to Davidson. Will switch over the arrow for the next time.
How about
that? Was awfully close to being the shot clock.
How about Lovedale switching over here, holding his ground, did not chop down to commit the foul, and then comes up with a great two-hand block.
Georgetown turnovers in this half has been a mess. Wait for the ball. A big call coming up here. And it's against the Hoyas. It's against Sapp, his third. And this is now double bonus time the rest of the way for Davidson. Paulus Gosselin, junior from Quebec, to shoot 2 to tie the game. Never would have believed it. 17 minutes to go in this game, down 17.
63% shooter, but buries it.
Their win on Friday over Gonzaga was, in fact, in their words, Gonzaga-like. They needed a tournament credibility building win to do what like Gonzaga's been doing for the last 10 years. And they got it.
And for Bob McKillop, his first after 4 tries to get that first NCAA tournament win.
Game is tied for the first time since 11-all. And 5 minutes to go for this week's 16. Right.
There's a block from behind. But is that going to be on Curry, who was waiting inside?
It's going to be instead. Yes, it is on Curry. It's his third. Notice that Wright is getting pretty sure of himself here, too, in the late going.
Yeah, we're talking about a McDonald's All-American type player, highly respected. And Jim, had it not been for the injury, this young man would have been a much bigger factor for Georgetown this year.
Out 18 games, back in time for the Big East tournament. Not playing a conference regular season game. Rivers back on the floor, Freeman also. Got 1 of 2. Hoyas by a point.
Just a 52% free throw shooter. You know the form is better than that, but you have to look at the fact. Nice backdoor cut.
And one for Curry. What a pass.
All day long, Curry has been coming out of that set across the top looking for a screen. He goes back door. And how about that pass by the #1 assist man in the country, Jason Richards. Look at this look. Tremendous. Curry may be a little stronger than we give him credit for, Jim, because he had to power that ball in.
Coming up with another big second half. Hibbert returns to the Georgetown lineup. Curry with 15 and a half, 20 for the game. Remember that shot he hit right before halftime? Not hit an outside shot.
And give Bob McKillop a lot of credit for getting him back in the ball game so he could get that stroke going before the halftime.
Really? Thought about working a little two-man game with Hibbert?
I think he should have, Jim.
Rossiter trying to front the 7-footer down low.
Well, they're not giving that Hibbert the ball at all when he's posted up down low early.
He's just touching it out here at the top of the key. Now Wallace has to adjust, goes to Freeman. Well, that's going to be on Curry, I believe.
Yep.
And this will be 4 on Curry. My goodness, with 4:15 remaining, he's picked up 2 here in the last minute.
Jim, in both of those cases, that ball would have been blocked from behind. That one by Rossiter.
Here's his father, Dell, who played in 2 NCAA tournaments at Virginia Tech, 1985 and 86. Lost to Temple, lost to Villanova. Never got to win a game in the NCAAs. His son already has 1 W, looking for a second. Austin Freeman has hit the front end of a 1-on-1. Now can tie the game with 4:15 left. Steph Curry has 4 fouls.
Georgetown only a 66% free throw shooting team, 10th in the Big East.
Rivers returns for Coach John Thompson. Hibbert out. Hibbert with 4 fouls, sitting down, going offense, defense. And Curry stays on the floor for the Wildcats with his 4.
And Rivers on him. Bob McKillop talking a little one-man talk to down there on the sidelines, almost better than a timeout because it was one-on-one coach and player.
The score here, Davidson was down 17 a couple of minutes into this second half. Curry with 15 second half points after a cold first half. They'll bring him back. Coming off 40 points on Friday. What a nifty move. Little dip. Highlight.
Well, we said he had 40 the other day, 30 in his other NCAA tournament game as a freshman last year against Maryland. Shut down for a while today, but not now. He's fun to watch because he's so composed.
Ewing way outside Wallace. Right. Freshman missing this one. Ruthdale snags it for the Wildcats.
Jim, that could have been a foul on Curry. He got a piece of the arm on that, not called. That would have been his fifth. He's got to be more careful.
What a stretch of action this has been. Texas escaping with a win as a 2 seed. Tennessee a 2 in trouble. Here's Curry. Oh my goodness. Another three.
Behind the back to get rid of Wallace. Then he shoots right over the top of Rivers, who never anticipated he'd release it.
Oh, that ball was tapped and Wright stepped back in from the out of bounds. They thought it was a turnover from the Davidson bench. From the Georgetown bench, they're taking a timeout. The 2 in the Midwest is in serious jeopardy after losing a 17-point second half lead. The largest blown lead of the season for Georgetown was 8 to both Memphis and Louisville. But Davidson has hit, can you believe this, 11 of its last 12 from the field.
After going in a big drought in the first half where they couldn't make anything.
Davidson had not won an NCAA tournament game since 1969, before Friday, when it eliminated Gonzaga. Now watch this, Billy. This shot by Curry. And watch the inbounds here, too. Because Paulus Gosselin taps it. Does Wright get back officially in bounds before he retouches it right there?
I think he's in bounds.
Okay. They were appealing from the Davidson bench.
I think he got back in bounds with 2 feet. He certainly had his anybody. He was standing about 2 feet away.
His Final Four team of a year ago, Georgetown. With seniors like Jonathan Wallace, 136 games into his career. Trying to extend it to the Sweet 16. Roy Hibbert, another senior.
He wants to go to law school, but not yet. There's Wallace right in front of us.
Curry is sitting down here on the offense defense. Another timeout, Georgetown.
Boy, Richards with tremendous defense on Sapp. The ball just couldn't get in bounds. None of the big guys came with a screen or back to the ball. And Jim, one of the things that was such a smart play by Wallace, because he did not want to throw the ball into the backcourt as good as Richards was playing defensively. You get that picked off and it leads to another basket. Georgetown big men just stood still and looked at the passer, never came to help him out.
Davidson 65, Georgetown 60. For those of you just joining us, it's a 22-point swing in this half. All fueled once again by the sensational sophomore Stephen Curry. One timeout, that's all that remains for Georgetown as Davidson just forced them to take one. It'll be Wallace inbounding again.
Paulus Gosselin doing a nice job guarding the inbounds passer.
Oh, that's going to be it for Sander reaching around. And that was close to another 5 count. But he got it in time, and Sander on the foul.
I'm going to give Paulus Gosselin a lot of credit there, Jim. He really was a force defensively on that inbounds pass.
Sander fouls out. And he's a player that he gives you a lot of the intangibles, Billy, you know, defensively. Comes out high on the post and
Well,
passing around. Rossiter's played well here at the NCAA.
Yes, Rossiter's going to come in for him. I think Rossiter's had an outstanding game as well off the bench.
Sander, a senior, hoping there's a way that he can also see his career go on for at least another week.
Jim, again, I'm going to go back to Davidson's schedule, where they played against heavy hitters earlier this year. But that's what he built in a very short period of time into an outstanding program.
This is 1-on-1, Billy. 65% shooter at the line, Hibbert. Rattles out, tipped around, and it's going to Davidson.
Dale just got enough of a piece of that ball that Georgetown had to bat it out.
Hoyas have been really hurt from the line. You see it there, 8 of 17. They bring back Curry. 8 of 17 for the Hoyas from the line, including that front-end miss.
That's what I said. 10th in the Big East in free throw shooting at 66%.
5-point lead. In no hurry.
And the ball in the hands of the best assist man in the country. And now to one of the number 5 scorer in the country. Wisely gets it back to Mr. Assist.
And the best scorer in this tournament. Communicating cross court. Here comes Curry. That shot blocked by Ewing. And there's Lovedale, and the lead is now 7.
Are you claiming, Jim, that was a shot? That was a pass. Ask Derek Wittenberg.
Whose jersey hangs in the rafters here. 7-0 run. Inside of 2 minutes. 3-point shot. That silences the crowd here.
He has been amazing all day. Every jump shot he's taken has been squared up. Of course, he's had some open looks.
First basket for Georgetown in 5 minutes. Richards. That's got to be goaltending. It is on Hibbert.
And all day long I've been saying, Richards, just keep the ball in your hand, penetrate with the dribble. Good things will happen because nobody's coming over to help out on you.
To play. Wallace on the drive. Off the basket, off the glass, beautifully.
You know, Wallace hurt his wrist or his hand, Jim. He's been holding it, but he's such a gutty player. Wow. He's hanging in out there.
What an effort on that drive.
Yep. I think
under a minute to play.
I think it's his left hand, so a non-shooting hand.
Crowd on its feet here. As Richards steps back. Carolina fans now pulling for Davidson out of the Charlotte area. He thought about it. Curry dishes instead. 5 on the shot clock. They whip it over. Paulus, Gosselin, no. On the floor, Summers has it. Georgetown's down 4.
Go for 2 here. You don't need the 3.
The drive in. Summers.
Smart play.
Timeout, Georgetown. 25 seconds.
Nobody guarding the man taking the ball out of bounds. I always think it's wise here to run another guy on the baseline and then step in. It negates this type of defense.
They got 2 on Rivers. There are 2 on Curry. Trying to inbound it to him. And that's going to be a reach in on right. So Curry will be shooting 2. Today's Chevrolet players of the game. Steph Curry from Davidson lighting it up in the second half again. And Jonathan Wallace from Georgetown.
Curry, an 89% free throw shooter.
Look at the crowd here, Billy. It's all Carolina blue, 90% here.
Yep.
And they're holding their breath, rooting for this upstart mid-major, if you will. Has been playing basketball actually for 100 years.
Well, Jim, here is really a critical free throw right now.
Yep.
90% shooter. He can turn this into a 2-possession game. Has 23 seconds, a lot of time on the clock. You pointed out Georgetown does not have a timeout. Bob McKillop over there screaming out 5 for his defensive call.
Texas, a 2 seed, barely survives. Looks like Tennessee will as well. But Georgetown, I don't know. They got to make it up here in 23 seconds.
Ball in Wallace's hand. Get the ball up quick to half court. You can still not worry about the 3. Get the 2.
It's right.
He's been quick to the basket.
Curry. No call, and into the arms of Stephen Curry, and Hibbert fouls out. That'll be it for Hibbert, and it might be the end of his Georgetown career.
And you like the man, if you're Davidson, who's got the ball in his hands, because it's Curry going to the line, a 90% free throw shooter.
Only the second time this season Hibbert fouls out of a game. He fouled out against Villanova in the Big East tournament.
Jimmy fouls out of this one, having played only 5 minutes in the first half.
Well, he had that crucial call against him, his fourth, when Georgetown was down, or Georgetown was up 11. And then Davidson got on this streak that hasn't stopped.
Well, imagine this, the tremendous years that Georgetown have had. This was the first year that they ever had back-to-back regular season championships in school history. And having a situation right now where if these 2 free throws go down, I don't see how they could come back.
You could have Billy, a Southern Conference school, in the Sweet 16 before an ACC school. North Carolina will be playing on this floor next against Arkansas. Last one's left.
Well, there's no guarantee that North Carolina will beat Arkansas
right.
in any
No,
ACC. Now they need 2 threes to tie. No longer can they count on a 2. They've got to get a 3.
On the run, the shot's up, banks home by Summers. Wow! With 11 seconds. What a shot.
Immediate foul here and try to keep the ball out of Richards or Curry's hands.
They got 2 on him, but he's still able to get it. And that's going the other way. Boy, Chris Wright thought he might have had a tie-up.
Well, I didn't think Georgetown handled that very well. You got to keep the ball out of Curry's hands, even if it takes 3 men. Let somebody else touch it so that you don't have that 90% free throw shooter going out there. You kind of like his chances to make him?
I like, you know, really, it's a matter of really make one, you know, and he's going to have 2 chances. I love his
Yeah, you don't think he's
right
a 50-50 shooter?
We'll hold on to that. Georgetown without any timeouts.
He steps off the line. I think that's very smart.
Now you talk about a giant killer.
This is big right here.
Yep. That Davidson could pull off right here. It's a 4-point game with 9 seconds. Wallace. Shot up, set. No. And talk about David and Goliath. I submit to you, Davidson College to the Sweet 16.
And the people in blue are cheering for a team in red, Jimmy.
Unbelievable 17-point comeback behind Stephen Curry. The star of this stage delivers again.